I'm not really sure what Disney was hoping to get out of remaking Beauty and the Beast. Okay, I know what they were trying to get out of it financially, but I'm just not sure what they were trying to get out of it artistically. The original is a classic, often regarded as one of the best films Disney's ever put out. Conversely, this remake is a collection of half measures that create a paradoxical picture. It's gaudier but blander, more lavish and expensive but cheaper looking, longer but in a bigger rush, and in 3 dimensions but flatter than the pages the original was drawn on. The tale is as old as time, but if you need a refresher, Belle is a beautiful bookish girl who doesn't fit in her poor provincial town. When her father goes missing, she tracks him down, discovering he's been taken prisoner in an enchanted castle. To secure his freedom, she takes his place and becomes a captive of the Beast, a man turned into a monster years ago who must learn a lesson in love if he hopes to become human again. Meanwhile, Gaston, an intimidating specimen of a man who doesn't take no for an answer, schemes to find a way to make Belle his wife. So what's there that wasn't there before? Not a whole lot worth mentioning, to be honest. I'm almost tempted to call it a shot-for-shot remake, but the original was only 84 minutes long, while this one is over 2 hours. That extra 40 minutes doesn't really add much, though. The only really noteworthy addition is an explanation to why the townspeople forgot about the castle that's apparently 5 miles away. We also learn what happened to Belle's mother by way of the Beast's magical book that allows the two to teleport all over the world, which answers one fairly unimportant question by raising some more pressing ones, like, why don't you use this again later when you need to get somewhere in a hurry? There's also a bunch of little annoying changes that aren't worth listing individually, but together just combine to really weigh the picture down. There's also some new songs, but they don't really add anything either. That's partially due to technical reasons I'll get into later, but it's also because the songs themselves, written by Tim Rice and Alan Menken, just don't have the same level of quality as the songs that Alan Menken wrote with the late Howard Ashman for the original Beauty and the Beast. I know that some would say I should separate the original from this version, but the decision to do barely anything new makes that impossible. Say what you want about Disney's past remakes of animated films, for better or for worse, they're different than their predecessors. This film constantly hammers you with reminders of the original and its attempts to replicate it, and after a while you can't help but think about how you've not only seen this all before, you've seen it done so much better. That's not to say that there aren't things to like. Lumiere and Cogsworth are still fun to watch, even if their designs are a bit too busy. And once you get past Mrs. Potts and Chip's Nightmare Field-based redesigns, they aren't bad either. Lumet the Feather Duster gets an expanded role with Lumiere, which is quite enjoyable too. Josh Gad's LeFou also mostly works. He's more of Gaston's conscience than his sycophant this time around, which isn't a bad choice, but it feels like he's not allowed to play the character as large as he should, a problem the entire cast has, frankly. And even though this remake consistently falls short of the original's quality, it can still be a fun and enjoyable, if completely disposable, movie to watch. Where the film suffers most is its 3 leads. Emma Watson's singing voice leaves something to be desired, and she often has a flat, unengaged look to ongoing events, which can't help but remind audiences of the last time director Bill Condon made a movie about a vacant girl whose name means beauty that had to choose between the vampire stalking her and a hairy obsessive hunk. Speaking of, Luke Evans' Gaston removes the character's exaggerated bravado and deep commanding voice, playing the character much more subdued, which essentially robs Gaston of what makes him so entertaining and charming in the first place, and what makes his shift to the film's antagonist so dramatic. But it's probably Dan Stevens' Beast that falls flattest. The Beast isn't realized through practical effects this time, but through inconsistent CGI. It's a weird change, mostly because they never take advantage of it. The Beast is much more humanoid than his animated counterpart, not walking on all fours or acting really animalistic, so there doesn't seem to be a reason he couldn't have been done practically. I think the hope was that it would allow him to emote better, but he gives a pretty flat performance, so it doesn't really work. Not only that, but the Beast as a character is really weightless. He pounds on doors with all the force of a feather landing on a mountain. He doesn't displace snow when he steps, and his walk is often very stiff and unnatural looking. It's just all around really poorly animated. There's also a bunch of other technical issues that crop up throughout the movie. Camera pans and zooms seem to have been artificially sped up in a way that robs them of fluidity. There's not a lot of breathing room for dialogue. Characters try and say all their lines in one breath, only for another character to immediately start rushing through their lines. There's also some really choppy editing, and the sound design for the songs can get pretty bad at times. The music often overpowers the lyrics to the point that I only followed along classic numbers because I'm familiar with the words, but I found myself straining and struggling to make out what they were singing whenever new songs cropped up. I worry I'm coming off as really hating the movie, but I don't. I mean, it's not terrible, it's just pointless when the original still exists. It's not the worst of Disney's live-action remakes, it's just hard to find anything overwhelmingly positive to say about it. Not a nightmare, but an unexciting ride. What's new doesn't add to much except the runtime, and what's familiar has been done so much better before. All of this has me wondering just who this movie was supposed to appeal to. Fans of the original are likely to be left unimpressed by the additions and changes, and non-fans won't want to see the remake of the movie they don't like that tries so hard to be the movie they don't like. I guess if you sort of like the original but just wish it was longer, blander, and more bloated, you might really like it. But otherwise, I don't think you'll be missing much if you decide to skip it. If that sounds like the kind of movie you'd enjoy, by all means, be my guest.